Hello and welcome to episode 85. If you watched last week, episode 84, the video started before I was ready for it. It just started automatically. So I've just been sat here for ages like this, waiting to welcome you, and it didn't do it this week. It must have known I was ready. Okay, enough nonsense. My name is Mandy, sometimes known as Mouse. This is my co-host, Miss Poppy, who is selectively deaf and will probably want to go out very shortly because I've shut the door because Ewan's having a lay-in. Ewan is my eldest son. No, he's not. No, he's my youngest son, but he's my only son who's still at home. My elder son and his wife live about 200 yards that way in their own house. I seem to have started with a waffle and I'm very apologetic about that. I have a lot I want to show you today, and I also want to do a little bit of shop news at the end, so I ought to stop waffling and get on really, didn't I? Okay. Finished objects. I have two this week. The first one, as you may have guessed, is my Starflake Shawl. I finished it the day after I recorded, so Wednesday, when last week's went up, and here it is. I'm hoping you can see it okay, because I can't see when I'm showing it to you. I will admit, when I finished it, I was a little bit less than impressed, because it was all kind of scooched up and only about that deep, and I thought, oh, have I made a big mistake? Because I went down from a 3.75, I think was it a 3.5? I went down anyway to a 3mm needle. I don't have the pattern to hand, I've put it away. So I was a bit afraid that I'd made a mistake and it was going to be tiny, but in actual fact, when I very badly blocked it, I blocked it by just hanging it round the area and then hanging pegs off these bits. So it's not blocked as well as it could be, but it grew to about 2.5 times the depth that it started out, so that was okay. So I am pretty pleased with it. I'm loving the colours. The purpley colour is Cascade Heritage Sock in, I do this every time, highlighter violet. The other two, and the other two are the ones that I used for my main colour, just came out of my stash. This one is kind of a cream, not sure that you can see, it's got some slight variegation in it, and then the other one was darker variegation, and they've gone together beautifully. I'm really pleased with it. Oh, I'm also very useless at showing off shawls, so I'm just going to put it around me like this. For the time being, I will roast, because behind this chair is a radiator, and for 2 years that radiator hasn't worked, which is kind of why the chair is here, because it didn't seem worth keeping it clear so that it could warm the room. It started working again. Nobody knows why. Nobody's touched it, nobody's done anything to it or the heating system. It's just decided it's going to work. Who knows? I am not a plumber. I cannot answer these mysteries. So that's my first finished object. Did I need to tell you anything else? Yes. If you are joining in with the Starflake make-along, which is what this was for, you have till the 28th of February, midnight the 28th of February, to get your entries in, either on Instagram using the Starflake FO hashtag, got the word, or on Ravelry on the Mouses Makes page. There is a Starflake chatter thread and finished objects thread. My brain is struggling with proper words today. it's going at 100 miles an hour, you might be able to tell, and then I lose words. If you are finished, that's great. If you don't think you're going to be finished, try and get as far as you can, and then in those last few days you can enter what you've got done into the finished objects thread or under the finished objects hashtag, but don't do it yet. See if you can get as far as you can. The price for the finished object will be 4 skeins of my own hand-dyed yarn, which are the March colourways, and they are, I'm sure I told you last week. No, I think I just looked at how many there were. Hang on then. There was a bit of a calamity and I don't know what caused it. I was nowhere near it. It wasn't even you, was it? What happened? We don't know. And that's not what I wanted. Or is it? No. It's going to be one of those days again, isn't it? Right, what book was I looking for? This one. Too Many Notebooks. Right, prizes for March and the colourways that will be going into the shop for March are the Year of Yarn colourway is going to be Daffodil. Then there will be, hopefully, if these work out properly tomorrow when I'm dyeing them, Mother's Day Bouquet, which is going to be a speckly yarn, Crocus, and Camellia. There may be another one, unless I put that in for April. We'll see. But definitely there's 4 colourways coming for March. They will be the prize for the finished object. The prize for the unfinished object, I forgot to get out again. I'm going to pause and get it and maybe collect my brain while I'm at it. Back in a sec. I'm back. Right, so the prize for the unfinished shawl was donated by my lovely friend Audrey, and it is this. I don't know if you can, oh you can I think, see it is a sparkle yarn. It's by, where are we, Muffy and the Squid, and it's called Forest Moon with Silver Stellina, and that is, well on my screen anyway, that is coming up pretty true to colour, although this is a colder, more lemony yellow. So that's the prize for the people who haven't finished but have put in a good effort. While I'm on the subject, it is also possible to join me in my Stephen West Marathon. There is a page, no, there is a thread on the Mouses Makes page on Ravelry explaining the shawls that I'm making and what you need to do to enter, which is basically make at least 2, preferably, of the shawls that I'm making in my Stephen West Marathon, and they must be done within 2023. I will put details down below as well for people who can't use Ravelry. If you can't use Ravelry, because obviously that's how to enter, you can also email me. One of the prizes for that is going to be this. It is a higher interchangeable needle set, which was donated by a lovely lady called Patricia. So you've got sizes, where are we, 5mm down to, oh this is a challenge for my eyes, 2.75, and all the cables are in the back there. So that's the prize for one of the prizes. There'll be more, I'll sort some more out. For people who are joining me on the Stephen West Marathon, you do not have to make the whole 9. That would be cruel. Even I am being cruel to myself. by making myself do the whole 9. I'm going to rustle now, sorry. I won't talk while I'm rustling. And I paused and now I've forgotten again. Holy moly. Yeah, information's on the Mouses Makes page and it will also be down below. Let's not complicate things. Right. That was my first finished object, which led me off onto a tangent. Second finished object, I hadn't even cast on when I spoke to you last week. I've got something in my eye now. Oh my word. This is going to be another episode with loads of thumbs down. The one that you liked because it was so funny, apparently, got loads of thumbs down. Right. Speaking of thumbs, did you like that way? That was completely unintentional segue. I have finished, well, I've started and finished, Ewan's fingerless mitts gloves. They're gloves, aren't they? Fingerless gloves. Fingerless mitts don't have fingers. For his reenactment, I used Cascade Heritage in camel and I held it double because I wasn't about to spend hours knitting 4-ply gloves. And the pattern I used, oh Lord, here we go again. The pattern I used I had put so that I could show you. It's a sirdar pattern, I hope. There it is. I put it away. Imagine that. Yes, it is still available. I have checked. I've had it for donkey's years. You've probably, a lot of you got it. It's this one. It's sirdar 5840. I will put a link downstairs. I will put a link below. It's available on Wool Warehouse, eBay, from sirdar. Where else did I find it? You can get it all over the place. The price ranged from about £1.50 up to £5.99. So I'll put a link in. I'll see if I can find the cheapest link. If there are none on there, shop around. I'm willing to bet most of you have got this. I think I've made everything on there at some point, apart from maybe the hats with the ear flaps. Yeah, my boys wouldn't have had that when they were little. But I've made the ribbed hat a million times, the fingerless gloves a million times. You may not have seen, I'm off on another tangent, I can't even remember if it was last summer or the summer before, I did an episode with Peter, my eldest son, and he asked me what was the thing I hated knitting the most, and it was these gloves. When he was at school, he had me knit him, I don't know how many pairs, but he wanted them striped. So I was striping the yarn and fiddling about with the little fingery bits. It was just hell on earth. This is how much I love my children, and they don't realise. When I'm gone, please explain to them. Right. So, having finished those two things, I took some of the yarn and I put it into my new C2C blanket. There's a bit of a tail to this as well. This was the first square. I showed you this last week. This was from my socks. And I then wanted to add these two yarns. These two are the main colour yarns from my shawl here. So the paler one and the darker one. But I didn't want to add them together. I wanted to add them either side of this square because I didn't want the blanket to start with a dark square in the corner, and also I didn't want two light colours together. So I thought, well, that's easy enough done. It's join as you go. I'll just work out this way and then I'll work out that way. Do you think I could remember how to start the next square? I could remember what to do once it was started, but I couldn't remember how I started it. Sorry. And I tried and tried, and in the end I thought, right, you idiot, go and have a look at Alex's tutorial. And Alex from My Yarny Corner has done, it's in I think 3 parts, a blanket, a C2C blanket tutorial. So I went and I watched that, and yeah, it was quite obvious really. Once I'd seen Alex done it, no, that was very bad English. Once I'd seen Alex do it, once I'd seen how Alex had to, oh God, here we go again. Right, you don't need to know any of that, do you? So I have these 2 squares are from my shawl, and this square is from what was left over from Ewan's fingerless gloves. My intention is to put a square in for every fingering weight thing I make during 2023 and see how big a blanket I've got at the end. If it's not big enough, I'll carry it on next year. The only downside is that it's got to be the fingering weight things that I knit, but that is the majority of stuff that I knit, I think, really. And other scraps will just go into my big corner to corner blanket, which is just a whole corner to corner blanket. Which I can't remember if I've shown you or not, but it's because there's so many whips in a box up there at the moment, and I can't get it down by myself because I am too short. So yeah, that might give you a better idea of what the pale colour in my shawl is like, because the colours gather together a bit more when you crochet, don't they? And then there's this one, which didn't catch as much of this sort of pinky. It was just moving into that when I finished, which is a shame. But I've still got a fair amount left. Got this much left. To do something else with, I don't know. Almost certainly going to my long forgotten triangular. I don't suppose any of you even remember that exists, which I will get back to. And then, I don't know, scrappy socks, something. There's always something to do scrappy stuff with, isn't there? So, that's that. Right, socks. Is there any kind of logical progression to this? I'm hoping there is. I finished my January socks, and I have now cast on my February socks. I'm desperately thinking, what have I done with the pattern? I bet it's downstairs. This is 0 stars for podcasting today. Right, the socks I've cast on are called the Wildflower Seed Socks by Dana Ray Makes. This is they. And the fabric is, I've not knit this pattern before. I won it from, I can't remember what. It might just have been one of those comment and win a prize things from Soxy Nana Alice. And this is she's Canadian. This is a Canadian designer who she knows, and they are lovely squishy socks. So the yarn I'm using, I cannot show you the pattern. It will be linked below. I don't know what the heck I've done with it. I swear it was on that table before. Might be time for another tidy up. It's not under there, is it? No. I don't know. So the yarn I'm using, this you might recognise, is the purple left over from my shawl, because I didn't join on the second ball till I was right on the border, right, almost finished the border. So I had a fair amount of that left. I still have, having knit half a sock, this much left. This is the Cascades Heritage Highlighter Violet. The prompt, oh, this is all out of sync. Right, the socks I'm making are for Denise from Dear Designs, Year of the Sock Make Along. Year of the Sock 2023. The prompt for February, which I can't say apparently, is violet. So, highlighter violet yarn, wildflower seeds pattern, and the main yarn is this, which is my own February colourway from the Year of Yarn, inspired by Denise's Year of Sock prompts, and this is imaginatively called February. So I was going to do a pair of socks just in this yarn, but I couldn't find the pattern. I know, what are the odds? I have since found it. I've got tangent alert. I've got under my desk. It's one of those, it's like a computer desk with a shelf that slides out. I've got two folders, one of which has patterns I'm knitting in. Oh, I wonder if it's there. I bet it's not. And the other one has patterns that I intend to knit this year. And so I looked in both those files and could not find the pattern for the socks that I wanted, but I did find the pattern for, I'm going to put that there because that's going to fall down as well. I did find the pattern for these socks, so I cast these on because I thought, oh, they look nice. I wanted to do them this year anyway, and I had the highlighter violet, which coordinated beautifully with my February yarn, so I thought that's what we'll do. So I did. I then subsequently, having cast these on and got about a quarter of the way down the leg, found the original pattern. But it doesn't matter, I'll use that another month. So you've got the pattern down the leg, across the top of the foot, and then under the foot you stripe the two yarns. I will show you them better next week, complete with the pattern and possibly on a sock blocker. You may be wondering why I have all these on the back. Excuse me. I think I'm trying to have a cold. I don't count rows when I make socks. I measure. But what I do is with a sock that's got a pattern repeat, I will put in a stitch marker every pattern repeat, so that when I come to knit the second one, I just transfer the stitch markers over and then I know they're the same length, or at least they've got the same number of pattern repeats, even if my tension's varied slightly. I think that made sense. Probably the only thing this morning that did. So that was a new cast on. The other new cast on also was a finished object, so you've seen that already. I'm going to give you a quick update on Dave's hat, purely because you haven't seen it for a while. I'm knitting him a Musselburgh, and I'm using West Yorkshire Spinners 4-ply in Bullfinch. I already made him one in Owl, which is pretty much super glued to his head most of the time, and so I thought, well, let's make him another one so that I can possibly wrangle that one off him to wash every now and again. So here it is. I think I'm about halfway. That's where it was when you saw it last. I absolutely love West Yorkshire, even though I can't say it, West Yorkshire Spinners striped yarns for making Musselburghs with. They pattern up so nicely, even though the stitch count is so much larger than it would be on a sock. In fact, this side looks even better, I think. So yeah, highly recommend if you're looking to make a Musselburgh, having a look at some self-striping sock yarn. So much easier than putting the stripes in yourself. So that's coming on. This was kind of a Christmas present. I gave him, I didn't know whether to make him socks or a hat. Fortunately, I decided what I would do is give him the ball of yarn and let him decide. Because I have, it turns out, made him a pair of socks in this yarn already. So that wouldn't have been much of an exciting gift, would it? But he chose a hat. A hat is a great news because, as I say, it means I can have the other one back to wash every now and again. And I'm hoping to have it finished by his birthday, which is the end of the month. So, not that I'm going to give it to him for his birthday, having already given it to him for Christmas. I'm not that mean. But it would be nice for him to have it before the weather gets so warm that he doesn't need it anymore. Right, that was a quick whip update. Having finished my Starflake, which is now here, not there, I've gone back to knitting on my Aurora Cabin. Let me move some things. Excuse the strange noise while I pull the table in front of me. So, this is part of my Stephen West marathon. Let me find the picture. It's the Aurora Cabin shawl, which was this year's, or last year's I suppose, Knit-along. So it was cast on the 26th of December, which in the UK we call Boxing Day. Sunlight is coming in and it's gonna get in the way of the camera. Sorry about that, it's probably a bit dark now. Last time I showed it to you, I had just finished, let me arrange it slightly better. Oh yes, what I meant to say was, if you've knit the Aurora Cabin or are knitting the Aurora Cabin and you want to join in the Stephen West Marathon, that is permissible. Even though it was cast on the 26th of December, I'm including mine, so it's quite fair for you to include yours. Right. Last time you saw it, I think I just finished this stripe section. And now I have done a little bit of this slip stitchy section. I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through this section and probably about half the way through the shawl. I would like, if I can, to get it finished by the end of the month, because come the 1st of March I'm casting on the next one. And I still currently have this one, a slip extravaganza and a flying foxtail wrap on the needles. So the plan was to get this one finished this month, do Vertices Unite through March, is that right? Yes. And then finish the slip extravaganza through April, whilst working at the same time on the flying foxtail wrap, which the knit-along that I'm entering that for finishes on the 1st of June, and that is the Test Your Limits, Mel. Are you following this? There may be a quiz at the end. Take notes. So, this is what I'm knitting on during Zooms, because I have to have it all on a table in front of me, because particularly for this section I am using all five colours at once. They're all colours that I've dyed myself specifically for this shawl, and I'm going to see if I can hold them up without there being a calamity. Here they are. They are kind of inspired by an old worn pair of denim jeans. So you've got the 3 bottom colours there. I like the faded bits. This petrol-y blue, inspired by where jeans are darker around the seams, and then this is obviously the stitching. So when I was knitting it before, I loved every single stitch. now I've come back to it, I'm struggling a little bit. I'm having to force myself to work on it. I've got the rest of this section to do, and then there'll be another section of this before the border, and I think that is what's, I was going to say, spoiling it for me. It's not hard, it's just time consuming, and yeah, I'm just not enjoying it quite as much as I was before, but I desperately want the finished object, so I need to persevere. So that's one of the whips that I'm working on, having finished this. The other, and I buried the piece of paper. The other I cast on about this time last year, I think, and it's this sweater. It's a sirdar jewel spun and it is 10140. All the patterns will be linked below. I'm knitting it. I've done the back and I've got this much of the front done. I've got, I think, about 4 rows to go before I start the raglan decrease. Although that looks very short. Oh, it's not that bad. Yeah, so I've done the hardest bit of the front. Once you start the raglan decreases, it goes ever so quickly. And then there's the sleeves and the neckline and it's done. So there's every possibility that I could have both these things finished by the end of the month. This was on my shelf of shame. I just kind of like reached in and grabbed whatever came to hand, and it was this. And really, I could do with it because it's not terribly warm. Yesterday, another tangent alert, yesterday was a beautiful day. We had windows open all over the house. It wasn't that warm, but compared to how it had been, and because the sun was shining, it felt warmer. And it was like a teaser that spring was just around the corner. This morning, freezing. Everything's frosty out there. Even though the sun's out, where the sun hasn't touched stuff, it's still frosty. So it really was just teasing. So if I could get this finished, similarly with Dave's hat, I could do with having this finished before the weather changes and I don't need it anymore. Which I think is why I cast it on last year. I was hoping to get it done before the weather got so warm that I didn't need it. Though to be fair, I do often need a jumper if I'm sitting out in the garden, even in the warmer weather. Because I'm a cold-blooded creature. Unless it's extremely warm, in which case I am far too hot. But I think that might be an age thing. Right. I'm just checking my list. I did have a list. Despite the chaos, I did have a list. I do not know what I've done with that pattern. I bet it's downstairs. It's very annoying. No, it's not downstairs because I was looking at it last night. I don't know. I don't know what I've done with it. But it doesn't matter because it's linked below. And there's little point keep looking round because I can't see it. I couldn't see it the first time, the second or the third time I looked. So there's little point keep looking for it, is there? Right. Be quiet, Mandy. Okay. That's all the knitting content. The rest is going to be about shop update. If that's not something that you're interested in, it's been lovely for having your company, and I will see you again next week. For those of you that are sticking around for shop update, first of all, thank you everyone who's signed up for a membership. I'm very excited by all of that. I put up a blog yesterday. That's the first of the new things that are coming for members only, and I don't know how to look and see if anybody's seen it. It wasn't a very exciting blog, but at least I wasn't moaning on for ages about where I'd put the pattern I'd lost. Right, shop update news. Next week, which is the 15th, I should have all the March yarns to show you that I was talking about earlier. I haven't quite decided when they're going to go on sale. They may go on sale that day. In fact, they probably will, thinking about it, looking at timings. So they will probably go on sale on the 15th of February for March. That will give me plenty of time for the other thing that I want to tell you about. So Advents. I know it's February. I know it's February and I'm talking about Advents. I have decided, after brainstorming with some people and getting their advice, I've decided to completely disregard it and do what I wanted to do in the first place anyway. Well, that's not true. I've not completely ignored it. I have added it to what I was going to do. So, this is complicated. Again, you may want to take notes because I am not in the most lucid frame of mind today, I feel. There are going to be 2 different Advents. I know you're all thinking, oh my gosh, where is she going with this? There's going to be a sock set Advent for the 4 Sundays of Advent. So 4 different sock sets. There will be the option to buy week 1, week 2, week 3 or week 4 separately, or the option to buy all 4 together. Similarly, with the 24 20-gram Advent, there'll be the option to buy the whole thing in one chunk, or to buy the first 6 days, second 6 days, third 6 days, fourth 6 days. And this is where it's going to get complicated, because I'm going to leave all of those options up for 4 months. So starting in March, there'll be March, April, May and June to decide what you're going to do. I want to do it that way because it means that if someone doesn't come across it until June, they've still got the option to get the whole Advent. Or say you wanted to do it in the 4 sets, but you didn't find it till the second lot, you've still got time to go back and get the first lot if you want to, but you don't have to pay for it all in one go. You can buy the first 6, the second 6, third and fourth, etc. So that's how I'm going to do it. The theme of the Advents, the sock sets are going to be themed around the Advent candles in church. Now, don't let that put you off non-churchy people. It just means that I'm going to go with the colour of the candle for that week. The mini skein Advent is going to be, now what did I worked out what I was going to call it. Colour play, I think it was colour play. I don't want to give too much away because then it won't be a surprise. But yeah, let's go with colour play. So it will be a fade of sorts. So you can, if you want to, start knitting with it on day 1 and work your way through a project, or you can wait till they're all opened and arrange them as you want them. I personally like to open it on day 1, knit day 1 and do that all the way through, although I failed miserably last year because I didn't clear my needles before December, but we're not going to talk about that. So I've planned the Advent so that that's what you can do if that's what you enjoy doing as well. I think that was all I needed to tell you about that. I know it's early. I know March till June is like the first half of the year when no one wants to think about Christmas, least of all me. But because it's my first time, I need to get myself organised. I need to get everything ready and know that I have time to get everything dyed up to get it out to you in plenty of time. The other thing I needed to tell you, which I should really have told you at the beginning, is that it's going to be a bargain advent. So there will be no extras. I'm following the same business plan as I do with everything else. I'm keeping the costs to a minimum, but still trying to give you something that's value for money. So if that's not something that you are looking for, then this is maybe not the advent for you. There will be no stitch markers, no sweeties, no chocolate, just the yarn. I've bought advent calendars like that in the past, and I'm fine with that because I'm not looking for all the extras. But if you are, yeah, this is maybe not the one for you. The other thing is, I'm going to have to keep it to UK customers, or keep the listing to UK customers, because of the cost of posting it overseas. If you are overseas and you would like to purchase one, please email me when they go up and we'll sort out postage. I can probably get postage right down by sending it just in a bag rather than in a box. But again, it would need to be kind of economy post, so I need to get it out to you extra early, which is another reason I'm starting so early. I think that is everything. I have had to put the price up a tiny bit, the minimum price, and also Royal Mail have changed the postage prices, so I've had to put those up a little bit as well. I've decided that for UK orders I want to send everything, this is off advents now and in general, 48-hour tracked, because I want to know nothing's gone missing, and if it does go missing, I want to know that the Royal Mail have got to do something about it. So yeah, I'm doing that. Overseas is going by economy. Basically, I did my books for January and I discovered that I'd spent £50 more on postage than I'd actually been given for postage. So I had to have a bit of a look and a sort out, and a lesson was learnt, shall we say. Partly that wasn't my fault for not calculating the postage properly. Partly that was because there was the cyber attack on the Royal Mail, and there was some outstanding orders that I couldn't send overseas. So once they opened it up for the most expensive postage, I sent stuff by the most expensive postage just so people would get it. Yeah, got into a bit of trouble for that. Never mind. So I'm pretty sure that is everything I've got to tell you, and I will see you next week. You know what I'm doing, don't you? Because this happened last week. I was like, right, I think that's everything I need to tell you. And then about 4 hours later, I had to record another bit because it wasn't everything I had to tell you. I had something very important that I had forgotten. But I think that is everything now. There is something else. I've remembered what it was, but I don't know if I want to tell you about it yet. I might leave it, because I've given you a lot of things to think about this week. I might leave it, tell you it next week, or even the week after. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep you in suspenders, as the children used to say. There was a very interesting conversation on Zoom the other day about, because we have a lot of American, Canadian, Australian people join us for Zoom, the different meanings for words in various parts of the world, and one of them was suspenders. And one of the ladies who may well be watching this said about wearing her pants with suspenders, and of course that means an entirely different thing than trousers with braces to us English girls. So, and Scottish and Welsh and Irish. Sorry, UK ladies. Anyway, that was completely irrelevant, so I'm actually going to shut up rambling now and go. I will see you next week. Bye guys, and happy knitting.